This is Ian Bailey with Ian on Torah. We're continuing our discussion of the seven spheros and how they relate to Sfiras Omer and how they are as independent concepts. This is Netzach Part 2. I wanted to give a couple more aspects to Netzach. We got cut short in the last video. So for the first thing is, each of the spheros have what I call a subtext, an underlying idea behind them that helps the sefirah, that shows you that the sefirah really touches upon many areas of life. In other words, the spheros are the building blocks of creation, of the world. For example, we mentioned that chesed and gevura is like a klal and a prat. Chesed is a general idea that's a jumble of everything put together. And gevura is a pratim, has many specifics. So you can go and you can, look in a language and other parts of the universe and see the same thing. When we make a general statement, everybody needs to come here. And then a specific statement, only those people who have black shoes. That is a general statement, a specific statement. That's a klal and a prat. A general and a specific. Or the spheros are sequential. So a storyline follows. It has, in literature, there are 5 basic parts to a storyline: the introduction, the rising action, the climax, the denouement, and the finale. So those 5 match up with the spheros as well. Chesed is general. It introduces something. It's general, and gevura chisels away, make it more specific. Storyline. Tiferes, symbolism and metaphor within the story. We'll get to the other ones later, but we're speaking about Netzach, and Netzach is, as I mentioned last time, it's morality. And if Chesed is a klal, a general thing, Gevura is a prat, specific thing, Tiferes is a klal sheva prat, it's a general thing within a specific thing, metaphor. Netzach is the fact that a prat must fit into the klal. That, we view the universe as full of disparate elements, and it's sort of our job to bring the elements together to work properly, which is the Yisod and Netzach, as we will see. So, I'm sorry, Yisod and Malchus, as we will see. Ooh, Freudian slip, wonder what that was. The prat must fit to the klal. When someone makes a statement about morality, it has to fit into general abstract ideas of morality. The prat, there's a statement you make. Klal, it has to fit into the klal. And Hod and Netzach are really 2 ideas that are very closely related. We'll try to save as much Hod as we can for next week. But it's a contrast to Hod, because Hod says the prat can be without the klal. An individual can survive without the group. An individual is unique. But the Netzach says, no, it has to fit into the klal. Everything, every idea, statement, idea, scientific theory has to fit into general research, abstract truth, objective truth. So that leads to the next step, which is when people have a Netzach quality about them, or using Netzach part of your brain, you're analyzing and saying, well, does that little statement really fit into the general principles? Does that idea, does that piece of research really fit into truth? That is Netzach, the subtext of Netzach. And just like Chesed and Gevura were 2 spheros that are partnered, synonymous, so are Netzach and Hod together, so brothers in arms. Arms being your physical arms, not the metaphor for weapons. So Moshe and Aaron were sort of like a good cop, bad cop, mother and father. Aaron did the nurturing and the caring. Our tradition says he brought out that midah. And Moshe, his contribution was the intellectual teaching and analysis of information, the grinding up of the war of Torah to get the truth. Now, both of them actually cared for people. The Gra and others say that Moshe was like a spiritual life coach. And Aharon, in the Gemara in Eruvin, he was part of the Masorah. He was actually the next step in the Masorah. He also knew all the Torah. And our sages expound that they're actually considered equal in their teaching and their greatness. So they both really had both qualities. But the key is that each of them brought out something, and that was their major contribution. Abraham had the contribution of Chesed. Yitzhak was Gevura. He did the same things before. Yaakov brought us metaphor, symbolism, and ritual. And Moshe was the next person. He proliferated. We'll speak about the Yosef thing later, but in the conceptual order, Moshe brought forth huge infusions of truth, infusions of morality, infusions of moralistic law into the world. And the fact is, all law is really moral, if you think about it. And last time we mentioned that Netzach means war and fighting. Well, the two go hand in hand, because what's a pretext for war? People say, oh, they're not moral people, we have to go get them. Or, so it can be an excuse or it can be a valid reason, is what I'm saying. It could be a valid reason, people really are being awful and horrible. Or it could just be a pretext, we don't like their way of life. So I'm not sitting here and saying the U.S. or somebody else has to be the policeman for the world, but that is a reason to go to war, both legitimately and as a false pretext. So those are the basic ideas of Netzach. That's the subtext, synonymous with Hod. So in all of us, just as the ancient Israelites did, Bnei Yisrael, we must really use our intellect. No matter how emotional and non-intellectual we are, we must use our intellect to grind up the facts, to find the truth, always be pursuing truth, so we can fit the prat into the klal, so we can fit disparate elements back into objective, abstract truth. And what's missing from all that is the emotional side, and that is Hod next week. Each of the spheros in the order comes to help with what the previous one is missing. Chesed is too general, Gevurah is specific. Gevurah is too specific, Tiferes blends the two. We must have analytic thinking and objective morality, but it has to have a human side. It has to have the bedside manner for the doctor. And that leads us to Hod, which is next week.